Hello and welcome to Not Just Books, the monthly television show about your Williamson County Public Library and our wonderful community. I'm Dolores Greenwald, the director of the library, and thank you for joining us today. We have some special guests and you are certainly in for a treat. We also have a segment that will be of special interest to teens. If you like robots and Legos, you got to stay tuned. Thank you so much for joining us. On our Save the Date segment today, we have Super Teen Librarian Erin Holt. She's our Teen Services Librarian at the main branch here in Franklin. And she has just come into that position, so we have some exciting things to tell you about. So Erin, what's going on? Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Tell us what's going on in the teen department.
Well, you want me to show you our robot first?
Yes.
This is one of our programs coming up. It's going to sort of be an ongoing series called Lego Mindstorms. So this is one of our Mindstorms here. We're thinking we'll have a contest about how to name him because all of our robots need names. So let's see here. We'll make him go backwards. Stop him and then we'll turn around. And then we'll make him go backwards. So it's a lot of fun.
Very good.
There's a lot going on in our department. We are up on the second floor in the teen room. There's big letters over the door so you know what you're looking at, where you're going. We have beanbag chairs, computers, a big TV. We've put music on there after school, so there's lots of fun stuff happening in the space.
It's already looking different. You walk in, there's all different signs now. There's beanbag chairs up there. And tell us a little bit about a selfie station. You're going to set up a selfie station.
Well, selfies are so popular now, so we want to make a little station, make the teens comfortable. We're going to set up some props. They can put little mustaches and top hats and everything, and we'll have different backdrops. We also really like the Share a Coke campaign that's going on this summer with the names on the bottles.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun.
So we're going to incorporate that into it with the literary characters. We're going to put some books on a table. And then print out some signs with the literary characters' names on them, and they can kind of pose with that too. So,
well, the Legos program, it's kind of an indication that we're doing some new things with technology. What are some of the other things surrounding technology we're going to start doing?
We're doing the Mindstorms. We're going to work on...
We heard his name.
Yeah. Let's move him off in case he moves again. Technology, we have the Mindstorms, and we also have, we're getting active on social media. We have a Twitter account, which is WCPL Teen 14. We're going to work on getting an Instagram account. Potentially Snapchat, we're kind of looking into that. I really want to work with our teen advisory group and see what types of things that they're interested in and give them projects to work on.
Tell us a little bit about the teen advisory group.
They're going to meet once a month. They're going to have different projects to work on as far as different programming they want to see and have things to do with making a video for the library about the department, potential podcasting. So anything that they're really interested in, we want to kind of jump on and see if we can hone that and really work with them on it.
We are developing a lot of different programs right now. One has to do with music and garage band and that sort of thing. So folks just need to stay tuned and find out what's going on. I also noticed that the teen website is changing a little bit. You want to talk about that?
It is. We have a great website. We've made some recent enhancements to it. If you look up on the left-hand side, there's a teen calendar. So if you click on that, that'll take you right to all the teen events. So it's just one click. And then you can click on each event and you can see more information. And if you need to register, you can register as well. On the right-hand side, there's some quick links to some of our most popular databases for research. There's a Gale Power search. There's Learning Express Library for test prep. And there's opposing viewpoints for some if you're doing a research
that's
paper.
a lot. That's interesting that teens may not know, but we can help with ACT prep, SAT prep, and that sort of thing online, as well as the traditional books that you might think of a library with. So how can someone contact you if they're interested in finding out more about the changes that we're making?
They can always give me a call at the library, the 595-1278, and contact me directly on the phone. There's email, teens@wcpltn.org, or Williamson-tn.org, I think, or through our Twitter feed, either the library's Twitter feed, WCPLTN, or our teen Twitter feed, the WCPLTN14.
Well, very good. Thank you so much for joining us. Watch out for Erin. She's about to be a superstar, and we really appreciate all the things that she's doing and enhancing in the teen department. Thank you so much,
Thank
Erin.
you.
And we'll be right back. Hello, welcome back. In our Save the Date segment, we also have Lori Scarborough, who is the president of the Friends of the Williamson County Public Library. Thank you so much, Lori, for joining us today.
Thank you.
Tell us, over the last 5 years, some of the things that the Library Friends group has been doing, and how much money have we raised?
Oh, I'd say over the last 5 years we've raised about $300,000 to $400,000 we've raised in the last 5 years. It's gone down a little bit the last year or two, but in the last few years we've done very well.
Now, tell us a little bit about the book sales.
The book sales last 3 days. Right now they are Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, and the beginning of the sale starts Saturday morning. And for the members only, it's from 1 hour, 9 to 10, and then after that it's open to the general public. But, you know, for those members who get to come in early, they get the first choice. So that's very important for most of those members to be able to come in early and buy their books ahead of everybody else.
And anybody that knows about book sales knows that the good stuff always goes first. So it's a good thing to get in there and get your books. And it's also a very good deal to become Friends of the Library. It's not a lot of money.
It's $20 to join, so it's not very much money, and all that money goes right back to helping with the library. So no matter what, whether you buy a book or whether you join the membership, your money is going back to helping the Friends and the library.
Tell us a little bit about where the money goes when it goes back to the library.
Majority of our money goes back to directly buy new books for the library and some equipment, but mostly books.
And also a small portion of it goes to help with continuing education for the staff too, which is also very important.
For those who are working on their science degrees.
That's right. Now, tell us about the annual luncheon that the Friends have.
We have an annual luncheon in December. It's the first Friday of December every year. And we have usually a really nice guest speaker come in, and we have a full luncheon, and we get to enjoy the speaker and enjoy honoring those volunteers who've helped throughout the year.
And that is in December?
Yes, in December.
So this year we're going to be able to honor 4 authors that I have interviewed on this program that won the Janice Keck Literary Awards too this year.
Yay! And I'm looking forward to honoring that. And we also, hopefully, we're going to have a fellowship award that we're going to be giving out for O'More. So one student at O'More that helps us during the year.
That would be the second one from O'More that we did.
Yeah, be the second one.
The first student that helped us out on the Friends Bucky and Bonnie project, the book project, funding that. So, and it was more than worth the scholarship. It was excellent. So, if someone wants to find out more about the Friends or volunteer for the Friends, how can they learn more?
They can go on the Friends. Not the Friends website, but on the library website, and then click on Friends, and then they'll tell you in detail. Or you can come by the library and pick up one of our brochures.
And tell us a little bit about the board meetings. When does the board meet?
We meet every third Wednesday of the month at 1 o'clock. So anybody who's interested in wanting to become a board member, they're welcome to come to our meetings and see what we're about.
And also, volunteering for the book sales is always...
Yes, we take
needed.
many volunteers. Usually it takes about 40 to 50 volunteers to make the book sale run. So we can take any, and we never turn a volunteer away. Never.
We can always find something for a volunteer
We'll
to
find
do, right?
something for you to do.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Lori.
Thank you.
And we'll be right back.
WAKM AM 950, Williamson County's hometown radio, and WCTV, the education and government cable channel for Williamson County. Together, serving the fastest growing county in the great state of Tennessee.
Hello and welcome back. In our Your World segment, we are joined by Laura Musgrave, emissary at Williamson County Convention and Visitors Bureau. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and how long have you lived in Williamson County?
Well, let's see. I moved here. It'll be 13 years this December. I moved here from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I was born and raised there. My husband does some work in Tennessee, so we moved to the Franklin area. I actually live in Leapers Fork, beautiful part of Williamson County.
You've also got a restaurant background. Tell us a little bit about that.
I do. After I originally moved here, I wasn't quite sure where I wanted to go. Was in between successes, but I opened a small lunch cafe in Leapers Fork. It was called the Backyard Cafe, and I owned that for 5 years, and it was a blast. It was a chance for me to get to know the community and people from all over.
Mm-hmm. And how long have you worked at the Visitors Bureau?
Well, I've been with them for 6 years. I actually worked with them when I had the restaurant. I would do some of their catering, some of their lunches when they would have meetings out in the Leapers Fork area. So that was my connection. It was kind of a working relationship, friendship.
So kind of one step led to the other.
Yes, exactly.
Well,
exactly.
That's good. That's good.
So I started with them as a visitor center staff person and was promoted to visitor center manager and then director of visitor services. And just recently in February, I was given a different capacity with the Convention and Visitors Bureau. I'm an emissary.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about that.
Well, an emissary is a representative. Williamson County sends me up into, I concentrate on the Davidson area, but also throughout the state where I promote Williamson County. And I have found it it's a great thing to do that I can get out there and talk about Williamson County, and it's been well received. Everybody's excited about where we're going, where Williamson County is going.
Well, tell us a little bit about the Visitor Center itself. Where is it located, and what will you find when you go there?
The Visitor Center is located on 4th Avenue North, just across from Chico's or the Franklin Mercantile. And it's a fairly new center. We were in the McPhail building, which was a 200-year-old building, still is a 200-year-old building. It's now home to Early's Hams and Jams, which happens to be the oldest retail business in Williamson County, is in one of the oldest buildings in Williamson County.
That's interesting.
But we moved into a bigger space. That was 200 square feet, and we moved to 1,400 square feet. It'll be 2 years this November. The Visitor Center is an award-winning design. It is made, everything in there is made from everything, the wood, the tin on the counters is from Williamson County, and it's all repurposed barn wood.
Roughly how many visitors does the center see in a year?
Oh my gosh, it grows every year.
I bet
would
it does.
say we're up to probably about 35,000 visitors a year just through the Visitor Center
That's excellent.
from all over the world.
That's excellent. Well, the Visitor Center has been very central to an event coming up in Williamson County.
Yes, it is.
The Sesquicentennial. And tell us a little bit about the Sesquicentennial.
Well, the Sesquicentennial, or I like to call it the 150th
Yeah,
anniversary.
Sesquicentennial is a little hard to say.
Sometimes I struggle on that. I did train for that, but the 150th anniversary, of course, of the Battle of Franklin. The anniversary of that is November 30th, 1864 was the date of the battle. but we have started with the commemoration of it now. There's actually an exhibit at Carnton Plantation right now called the Battle Scarred exhibit. It's an amazing exhibit. They have artifacts from a lot of the generals. They actually have the crutch that John Bell Hood used, his saddle.
Didn't that recently start the exhibit? It's
Yes.
recent, and it's going through till
April of
till
2015. So it started August 1st. It's an amazing exhibit. They actually have an area for kids too that they can enjoy and learn about the battle itself.
That's great.
And then of course they have the signature event. That'll start November 13th and run through November 16th. There are 2 nights at the Franklin Theater. And then they have the Blue and Gray Days, which follows that. And
Now
then
tell us a little bit about that. What's the Blue and Gray Days?
that's when the reenactors will come out and they set up camp, which is really interesting. And they live it. They actually live it, and they'll be out at Carnton on the eastern flank of the battlefield. And then the actual date, there will be a illumination ceremony at the Carnton Plantation at the McGavick Confederate Cemetery, which happens to be our country's largest privately owned military cemetery. They will have 10,000 candles, luminaries lit to honor the 10,000 casualties.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it's pretty special.
If you brought some handouts for us, so let's see what you've got here.
First of all, this is a brochure information card on the sesquicentennial, and this can be found at the Visitor Center. It is also located at welcome centers throughout the state, and then also in the hotel areas here in Williamson and Davidson County. And it's got a calendar of events that are coming up, the special events that are coming up. So,
And that's the official logo on the front.
yes, it is.
150th.
And the best way for anyone to get the information would be through the website, which is franklin150.com. And then, of course, I've also brought our visitor guide, which again is available at the state welcome centers throughout Williamson, Davidson County, but then also at the visitor center. And this has a list of all there is to do in Williamson County: walking tours, driving tours, where to eat, where to play, where to stay. And then in the center, of course, is our 2014 calendar of events. So you don't miss a single thing that's happening in Williamson County.
Now, I'm glad you mentioned the walking tours, because we do have an interesting, very popular walking tour right in the middle of Franklin. You want to talk a little bit about that?
We have a self-guided walking tour. It is 6 different loops, so you can do 1 or all 6 loops. And it's going to give the history of some of the homes and buildings in the area. There's the Great American Main Street Loop. There's the Haunts and Headstones, which is really interesting because it takes you to the 2 cemeteries. It's a great, great walking tour to know more about just the area. It's got the historic homes of Hinchyville, the Arts and Antiques District. So it's a great way to get out and explore your community.
Very good. And thank you so much for coming
You're
today.
welcome. I enjoyed it. Thank you for inviting me again.
We'll be right back. Hello, welcome back. In our What's Hot in Books segment, we have Bryan Lane, and I'm very happy to introduce you to him. He has written a fantastic biography on General John Adams, who died during the Battle of Franklin. Bryan works at the University of Tennessee, and this has been his hobby for how long, Bryan? 20 years?
A long time, yes,
A
ma'am.
long time. Well, thank you very much for joining us today, Bryan. The title is Where No Sorrows Come, The Life and Death of Confederate Brigadier General John Adams. Now, that's a very significant title, so why did you select that?
Yes, ma'am. The title actually comes from a letter that the general's father-in-law wrote to the general's sister after the Battle of Franklin, and word had reached the father-in-law, and he sent this letter to the sister to get word to the general's wife and children to please come home, and that he expressed his condolences, and he ended the letter by saying that he hoped that they could all meet where no sorrows come.
And we also have a picture on of the porch.
Yes, ma'am.
On the back cover.
Mm-hmm.
Now, talk a little bit about the porch. Why is that significant?
Yes, ma'am. After the battle, the following morning when that field was strewn with dead and wounded, and it was a horrible, horrible scene, there were groups of men who found the dead officers and took them back, and Patrick Claiborne's body and John Adams' body were taken back in the same ambulance to Carnton, and their bodies were laid out on the back porch. And that picture, which was taken by a friend of mine named Randy Duncan, I think is a beautiful picture and sort of draws you in, and it looks like you could just walk onto that back porch.
And now is the back porch where?
At Carnton.
At Carnton.
Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm. And what sparked your interest in the Battle of Franklin and Adams specifically?
Yes, ma'am. I've been interested in American history for many, many years. I think it goes back to a trip that my grandparents took me on when I was 4 years old to the Wax Museum of American History in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. And I got interested specifically in the Civil War after that, and then I read a book called 5 Tragic Hours about the Battle of Franklin. And the story of John Adams really intrigued me, and that's how I got interested in the general.
Why do you think the Battle of Franklin is still important?
Oh, goodness. Well, the Battle of Franklin, there are a lot of things about that particular battle that I think are significant and interesting. You know, as American citizens, we're taught about the Battle of Gettysburg, for instance. And coincidentally, George Pickett, who's immortalized for
Pickett's
a charge
charge.
he didn't personally lead, was John Adams' friend and roommate while they were together at West Point. But unlike Gettysburg, where there was a preparatory bombardment of artillery and so forth, and there was basically one massive attack across an open field in the middle of the day, this attack occurred in the evening, and there was no artillery bombardment. And those men that made that attack that day, those Confederates, they knew what was going to happen. And in fact, there was a teenage soldier in the Confederate ranks who looked out across the field at the Union works and turned to his buddy before the attack and said, "This don't look too good." So you didn't have to be a trained officer to know what was going to happen that night. And yet all of those men in gray, including John Adams, did their duty, and some of them paid the ultimate price for that.
What prompted you to put so much time and energy into putting this together? Because, like I said earlier, this took you a lot of time. You had a real job that you were doing.
Yes, ma'am.
And a real life. So tell us why you did it and how you did the research on it.
Well, first of all, I wish I knew, because I've asked myself that question many times. Why are you doing this? You're not a real historian. But like I said, the story was intriguing, and I guess what compelled me to follow through was that there was really nothing written about General Adams, and I thought that what he did that night was extraordinary. As a matter of fact, in the book, I point out that he was one of 6 people from the state of Tennessee nominated as, you know, the top heroes to be carved into Stone Mountain, Georgia. As far as the research, I wrote a lot of letters in the old days. I went to the library, which was in Memphis, is where I was at that time, and took a pocket full of dimes with me every time I went to make photocopies of the official records mentioned of John Adams and so forth. And, you know, contacted people, read books, and people from all over the country contributed to this. And I think that was part of what kept me going, was that historians are good people and they want to tell the stories. And, you know, they gave of their time to send me information about this man. And, you know, I put it together to the best of my ability.
Well, the library played a role in helping you
Yes, ma'am.
put the final pieces together. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yes, ma'am. Of course, you and I talked, and we decided that we had some goals that we could achieve together. And Lisa Harmon is the historian, and she went over this to make sure I hadn't made any bad mistakes, and she caught a few mistakes, and we corrected those. And Suzanne Sparks formatted this and did a lot of the technical stuff, the covers and making those pretty. And then Margaret Brown made sure that the bibliography was correct. And so this book would not have appeared in this form if it were not for the Williamson County Public Library.
Well, we're excited about the book and excited to have played a part in it. If this is actually a proof
Yes, ma'am.
of it.
That is correct.
And if someone wants to get a copy of the book, they can contact the library.
Yes, ma'am.
They can give us a call, 595-1240, or they can send an email to ref@williamson-tn.org. Now, this is going to be something that this is going to be a question we could probably talk about forever. But some historians say that the Battle of Franklin was important to the Confederates surrendering. Do you agree with that?
Well, it played a role to the extent that this basically took the Army of Tennessee out. They were never the same after that battle, and had Hood been able to get around Schofield and capture all of that equipment and so forth, then who knows what would have happened. But because it played out the way it did, that really took the Western thread out, in my opinion. That doesn't mean that there weren't still brave, capable men, Forrest and so forth. But the Army of Tennessee really died that night, I think, in the field south of Franklin. There was a Battle of Nashville that followed, but the Union forces, once they came out of Nashville, just basically pushed those men off the hills, and that was that.
Do you think the intensity of the battle was one of the reasons, the Confederacy knew that they had a last stand?
Well, I'm not really sure how to answer that. This was not one of our prep questions. So
No, it's not.
But
it's something to think about.
Yes, ma'am. And I guess what I would say is that when you read the accounts of that battle, and you read about the fact that when they found the dead the next morning, the Confederate dead, the looks of terror that were frozen into their faces and so forth, that you didn't see in these other battlefields, that doesn't mean that the other deaths weren't terrible. It's an indication that for whatever reason, there was a level of ferocity that night that was really hard for us to understand right now.
Well, I'm sorry, we've got to cut it.
Oh, okay.
See, I knew this was going to be a question that we'd have to do this. Thank you so much.
Oh, yes,
Bryan.
ma'am.
We'll be right back. Thank you so much for joining us today. My special guests were Laura Musgrave, emissary with the Williamson County Convention and Visitors Bureau, Erin Holt, Teen Services Librarian with the Williamson County Public Library, and Lori Scarborough, President of the Friends of the Williamson County Public Library, Bryan Lane, author. If you have any comments or suggestions for future programs, please contact me. The email address is notjustbooks@williamson-tn.org. We're doing some exciting things here in Williamson County, and you do not want to miss it. You can also leave comments about the show. And until next time, explore your world and read.